This late in the civil war, by any measure, this offensive was huge. Jihad Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, widely viewed as al-Qaeda's wing in Syria, Nusra Front, fielded hundreds of jihadists for this offensive. According to Russian intelligence, 30 pickup trucks equipped with various guns, 7 tanks, 4 APCs, 2 jihad mobiles, or vehicles packed with explosives and driven by suicide bombers. As I said, a huge offensive aimed at taking a government-held town, Kafr Nabuda. According to the Russian command, the Syrians held out against 3 waves, the jihadists losing more than 100 fighters, 4 tanks, most of their pickup trucks. They also reportedly launched missiles at the Russian air base in Khmeimim, though those that got close were shot down. UN Security Council is none too pleased.
Russia and the regime's decision to launch airstrikes sends a terrible signal of disregard toward the UN political process.
Russia has claimed that its so-called retaliatory strikes were surgical, I quote, surgical in their precision. I hope I do not need medical treatment in Moscow if surgical accuracy means what we've seen.
We refuse to consider terrorists as untouchable and will continue to fight them despite the objections of some of our partners.
The United States reiterates that any escalation in violence in northwest Syria would destabilize the region.
We have our own view on who is destabilizing the region.
Both sides blame each other for this latest escalation. Fighting had been building up, escalating for days now. And as often happens, the rebels, jihadists, are crying foul, saying Assad's gassing them.
We continue to see signs that the Assad regime may be renewing its use of chemical weapons. The regime's attacks against the communities of northwest Syria must end.
Remarkably, nowhere in their press statement does the US mention al-Qaeda. Oh, HTS denies any affiliation. They rebranded, changed their name from Nusra Front, but that is seen as a ruse to avoid harsher scrutiny. Nothing has changed in their behavior, still executing infidels, fielding suicide bombers. So imagine our surprise when we did some digging and found that the initial source of these chemical attack allegations, which so concern the US, the initial source was HTS, Nusra Front, al-Qaeda. Worth noting, though, is that the US is saying they can't verify anything.
Bombing attacks, which have been indiscriminate and very vicious, have sent some 150 to 200,000 people in Idlib, most of whom are already internally displaced people, to move again to temporary housing and create a huge burden on our very broad humanitarian effort that we and the rest of the international community are making. So we're watching this very closely. Also, the reports of chemical weapons use. So far, we cannot confirm it, but we are watching it.
It's an interesting situation. The US, Europe, allies are spending billions infiltrating, bombing, fighting ISIS, al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Somalia, all over the Middle East, in Africa. Yet in Syria's Idlib, al-Qaeda's biggest stronghold, they're taking their side, if indirectly, demanding that the Syrian government leave them alone, taking seriously their claims and statements about chemical weapons. As I say, remarkable.
Terrorism specialist Jennifer Breeden says Damascus should go on the offensive in Idlib.
It's not going to be possible to fight terrorism without going to the terrorist strongholds. I mean, that's absolutely necessary. We're talking about a group, HTS, which is an offshoot of al-Nusra linked to al-Qaeda. So this is a very serious terrorist organization. And it's also a terrorist organization that's in a place with a very large civilian population. Most of these civilians have been displaced, are internally displaced because of the war, because of other terrorist organizations. And so it's crucial that this area be targeted to undermine these terrorists. I think that the concern is whether chemical weapons have been used or whether there have been any such use of chemical weapons because of the large civilian population that has also been terrorized by the stronghold that al-Nusra offshoot HTS has on this area.